Spaceman Jack noticed something strange after his death. He was reincarnated as an S-Rank monster, a creature so powerful that it could destroy entire nations. However, in his juvenile form, he appeared as nothing more than a tiny kitten, his immense potential concealed behind an innocent appearance. One day, while he was exploring his new surroundings, a fairy girl named Arya stumbled upon him. Mistaking him for a helpless pet, she decided to take him home. Arya's warm smile and gentle demeanor hinted at her naive kindness, which would soon change Jack's life. But Jack's reincarnation hadn't been easy. Shortly after being reborn, he encountered a menacing slime that tried to devour him. Determined to survive, he accessed a mysterious system and chose a skill called Rock Roar. With a single strike, he unleashed a devastating attack that instantly obliterated the slime. Jack's relief was short-lived, as a sudden wave of hunger overtook him. Desperate to replenish himself, Jack hesitated before taking a cautious bite of the slime's remains. To his astonishment, consuming the slime not only sated his hunger, but also granted him a new skill. He realized that by eating monsters, he could absorb their abilities. From the slime, he gained the skill storage, allowing him to store items in an invisible inventory. Testing his newfound ability, he stored the rest of the slime for later use. Meanwhile, Arya was navigating a labyrinth. She presented her badge to gain entry and used a glowing crystal to illuminate the dungeon's dark, winding corridors. Unbeknownst to her, Jack was beginning to adapt to his new form and unravel the secrets of his abilities. At a nearby pond, Jack continued honing his skills. He encountered a wyvern and, after a fierce battle, managed to defeat it. From the wyvern, he gained the ability to fly. He didn't stop there. He went on to challenge a C+ class minotaur, claiming the skills Fireball and Ice Magic. His confidence grew with every victory, and he began targeting stronger opponents. Jack's streak continued as he defeated a B-class golem, earning the Iron Body skill, which allowed him to harden his form like iron. Later, he faced a C-class serpent, and by consuming it, gained the Poison Fang skill. His victories came with increasing challenges, but they also revealed the vast potential of his evolving abilities. One day, Jack's curiosity led him to a glowing treasure chest. Eager to claim its contents, he opened it and discovered a massive crystal inside. His heart surged with excitement, but his joy quickly turned to dread. The chest was a trap. The crystal activated, teleporting him to a dark, unfamiliar location. Disoriented, Jack felt an overwhelming force pressing down on him. Looking around, he realized he was standing on the back of a colossal earth dragon, an S-rank monster of immense power. Panicked but determined, Jack attempted to use Rock Roar again. However, the stone spikes had no effect on the dragon's impenetrable scales. Thinking quickly, he activated Iron Body to harden his form, narrowly dodging the dragon's crushing attacks. The dragon, though impressed by Jack's resilience, deemed him far too weak to be a threat. It raised its massive foot, aiming to crush him once and for all. Desperate, Jack activated Ether Edge, a skill that emitted a sharp beam of light. The attack managed to wound the dragon, causing it to roar in pain. Seizing the opportunity, Jack used his flight skill to escape into the air. Exhausted and bleeding, he soared away as the Earth Dragon howled in frustration. Eventually, Jack collapsed from his injuries, feeling helpless and overwhelmed. Just when he was on the brink of giving up, Arya found him. She took the injured kitten into her care, feeding him, patching up his wounds, and even changing her clothes right in front of him. Jack, although physically battered, couldn't help but enjoy the comfort of Arya's attention. He chugged milk like royalty and napped on her chest, which felt like a luxurious 5-star bed. Deep down, he knew he owed her his life. With renewed determination, Jack vowed to repay her kindness. From that moment on, he became Arya's self-declared protector, ready to use his growing powers to keep her safe. One day, Arya suited up for a mission, and her freeloading orange knight decided he was coming along too. Determined to prove his worth, he followed her into the dungeon. Arya was in her element, slicing through goblins like she was at an all-you-can-slash buffet. Tama, perched nearby, observed the chaos with mild amusement, thinking, "Damn, maybe she's not as useless as I thought." Then, things took a dangerous turn. A goblin mage appeared, wielding actual magic instead of clumsy wooden weapons. This wasn't just another mindless enemy. It hurled a fireball directly at Arya, catching her completely off guard. That's when Tama sprang into action. He darted forward, shoving Arya out of harm's way. Then he launched himself at the goblin mage, slashing its face with his claws in a flurry of furious strikes. The goblin barely had time to react before Tama finished it off. Arya, stunned by her tiny companion's bravery, looked at him in awe, probably wondering how her pet was cooler than most adventurers. As a reward, she let him crash on her chest for a well-earned nap. Later, back at the Adventurers Guild, the atmosphere shifted. Arya bumped into Casman, a greasy red-haired adventurer who oozed bad vibes. He was persistent in trying to convince her to join his party, but when she turned him down again, his frustration boiled over. He grabbed her arm, his intentions clear and disgusting. Big mistake. Tama, sensing the danger, launched himself at Casman's face like a furry missile. His claws and teeth went to work, scratching and biting with a fury that left Casman screaming. The man flailed and tried to fight back, but before he could land a hit on Tama, Arnold, the guild leader, stepped in. Arnold's imposing presence sent Casman scurrying away. Humiliated, the guild erupted into cheers, a chaotic mix of drunken laughter and applause as Tama basked in the glory of his victory. Moved by her feline savior's loyalty, Arya decided to officially adopt him, naming him Tama. The name might not have been the most elegant, but Tama couldn't care less. With his new status as Arya's official companion, he could now stick by her side without raising any eyebrows. Life settled into a routine. Arya continued grinding her daily quests, hoping to earn a promotion at the guild. One evening, after finishing her quests, Arya decided to take a detour to the fields with Tama in tow. Instead of giving him the belly rubs he clearly deserved, she decided to playfully tickle him in that odd way only a slightly drunk person would find amusing. Tama let out a dramatic yowl, clearly regretting every decision that had led him to this point. Things escalated when Arya, drunk and carefree, decided it was bath time. With zero regard for boundaries, she dragged Tama into the bath with her. Tama, staring at the water, could only think, "What fresh hell is this?" But eventually, he relented and hopped in. As he floated toward her assets, his inner monologue probably went something like, "This is both the best and worst decision I've ever made." The moment wasn't all silliness, though. Arya, relaxed by the warm water in the presence of her tiny companion, started to open up. She poured her heart out, speaking of her difficult childhood. She recounted how demons had ravaged her village and how the legendary sword saint had saved the day. That moment inspired her to become a knight, but now she found herself questioning if she was strong enough to live up to that dream. Tama, being the intelligent little furball he was, knew all about Alicia, the sword saint. Alicia wasn't just strong, she was a true legend, someone who inspired hope and awe. To comfort Arya, Tama rubbed his face against hers, performing that magical cat gesture that never failed to make people feel better. It worked. After the cozy bath, Arya stepped out, feeling lighter. She was greeted warmly by the villagers, who treated her like royalty. Tama, now dry and smug as ever, perched on her shoulder, knowing he had played a part in lifting her spirits. Meanwhile, things seemed perfect until Arya was summoned by Arnold, the guild master. Arnold, with his twinkish charm, had some bad news. The creep from earlier, Casman, had filed an official complaint against Tama. Why? Because the fearless kitten had shredded Casman's already unfortunate face with his tiny claws of justice. Now, Casman, the living embodiment of a walking grease stain, was demanding that Tama be put down. Arya, desperate to protect her beloved furry companion, dropped to her knees and begged for mercy. But Casman, the poster boy for petty revenge, had other plans. Smirking with the confidence of a slimeball, he proposed a duel to settle the matter. His terms? If he won, Arya would have to marry him. If Arya won, she could keep Tama. Without a moment's hesitation, Arya agreed. The thought of this creep-harming Tama was unbearable. Even though the odds were stacked against her, she refused to back down. Arya was a D-rank adventurer, while Casman was a C-rank bully with an inflated ego. Still, she was ready to fight. Casman, ever the coward, tried to save face by calling on the villagers to support Arya, pretending he was giving her a fair chance. But the villagers wanted nothing to do with the mess and left Arya to fend for herself. Casman smirked, convinced he'd already won. But oh, how wrong he was. Enter Tama, the tiny orange knight with a big attitude. The kitten stepped forward, ready to defend his master. Casman, too dim-witted to see the humiliation awaiting him, agreed to let Tama join the duel. The fight began, and Casman charged with his sword swinging, certain of his victory. Arya, desperate to protect Tama, lunged at Casman, but was met with a brutal kick to the stomach that sent her sprawling to the ground. Kazman burst into laughter, his smugness radiating as he taunted her. Arya fought back with her daggers, but Kazman dodged her attacks effortlessly, throwing in a lame kitchen joke to mock her. Meanwhile, Tama watched his master struggle, realizing it was time to stop holding back. Kazman, feeling particularly vile, began harassing Arya mid-fight, calling her his future wife and making disgusting remarks. That was the last straw for Tama. The tiny furball charged into action, activating his iron body skill. With a single strike, he snapped Kazman's precious blade like a twig. Before Kazman could even process what had happened, Tama unleashed Ether Howling, a powerful attack that sent the red-haired bully flying into a conveniently placed cluster of dark, bushy trees. Kazman ended up dangling from a branch, humiliated. To make matters worse, his broken blade fell and landed in the most unfortunate spot, effectively ending his bloodline. Tama's magical powers were now out in the open, and the villagers began whispering among themselves, their expressions shifting to fear and suspicion. Tama, sensing the change, assumed the worst. In his head, he was already composing his final goodbyes, bracing himself for the pitchfork-wielding mob. But then, something unexpected happened. As the dust settled, Arya realized something important. Tama wasn't an ordinary kitten. He was an elemental cat, a rare and powerful creature capable of understanding human speech and wielding magic. Arnold, ever the voice of reason, calmed the villagers, explaining that Tama's abilities were a blessing, not a curse. The tension eased, and the crowd broke into cheers once more, celebrating Arya's spectacular victory. As a new day dawned, Tama came to terms with his dual identity. Though he was a behemoth of magical power, he was happy to live the simple life of a cat, cherished and protected by his elf master. If you want to live the life of a cat as epic as Tama, comment below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more episodes.